Please come in. It's open. Hi Diana. Please come in.
Hi Mir. Do you have a minute? I would like to continue our morning conversation. If you don't mind, can we talk about meeting minutes?
Sure. I have 1 hour I can spare.
Excellent. So, the company secretary is responsible for keeping the minutes of the meeting, recording voting results, maintaining attendance records, and generally keeping track of everything that happens at an annual shareholder meeting. This information is compiled into a written format and must be made available to all shareholders, as well as the general public.
Yes, that's correct.
Amir, what gets documented in the annual minutes?
First of all, you need to understand that meeting minutes aren't just a cheat sheet of what was said at last week's staff meeting. Minutes may be formal legal documents that represent the official action of a company's board of directors or a government entity's leadership. Because minutes are the official record of business and government activity, it pays to develop them effectively.
Yes, you are right.
Here is an example of meeting minutes breakdown structure. It need to include header information, introductory material, consent agenda, business agenda, concluding materials.
Can you please unpack all of it?
Sure. Minutes include a header of the date and location of the meeting. The header records who was present and who had an excused absence, and it typically identifies the person who served as the meeting's presiding officer and recording secretary. Meetings that occur simultaneously in multiple places, for example, through video conferencing, typically record attendance based on location.
That's great. Let me think of the example. Minutes of the meeting of ABC Company Board of Directors, December 14, 2012, Executive Boardroom, Headquarters Building, Smith Johnson, Chairman, Vanessa McDonald, Recording Secretary. Present, S. Johnson, D. Truman, J. Hatoma, H. Michaels, Q. Rodriguez, M. Smith, V. Clark.
You got it.
Next one is introductory material.
Minutes typically begin with the exact time the presiding officer called the meeting to order. In most meetings, the first items on the agenda include introductions, remarks from the presiding officer, and approval of the prior meeting's minutes. Capture the main points offered during the presiding officer's remarks. If members offered any amendments to the prior meeting's minutes, record the changes precisely.
You have a special talent to explaining the most complex material in such simple way. Let me think of an example. Mr. Johnson called the meeting to order at 2:46 p.m. After informal introductions, Johnson announced that he became a grandfather. On the motion of Ms. Rodriguez, the minutes of the November meeting were adopted by unanimous consent, with the exception that the word "execute" in paragraph 15 is replaced with the word "implement."
Thank you, Diana. You do have a special talent, which is your great sense of humor. Let me continue. Although each meeting has a different structure, formal meetings, especially for government groups, usually begin with a consent agenda, which is little more than a series of reports and statements that do not require a vote. The consent agenda often includes correspondence, reports from committees, and other information-only material. Record the major points for each item discussed during the consent agenda, identifying the subject of conversation and any major comments offered by members during open discussion.
Let me think of the example. Mrs. Smith read into the record a letter from XYZ Manufacturing Company dated October 2nd. The letter praised the Information Technology Division's professionalism in expediting a high-profile product delivery. Mr. Perez, on behalf of the IT division, said that XYZ did an excellent job of providing detailed application specifications.
Great example. Let's talk about business agenda. The business agenda is where the action is the part of the meeting where the members debate and vote on various action items. For formal minutes, the secretary must transcribe the actual motion being voted upon and the actual vote tally, including who voted for and against the question. Typically, the secretary also captures a summary of the debate, including the major points made by each member who spoke. Technically, there's no such thing as a vote to abstain.
A vote to abstain?
To abstain means to not vote at all. People who wish to record that they are neither in favor nor opposed to a matter should vote present instead.
Got it. Let me give you an example. Johnson opened discussion on an invoice from EFG Widgets for $11,254.15. Ms. Hurtoma said the invoice was approved by the Finance Committee last week. Mr. Michaels said he supports the ongoing work with EFG Widgets. Hurtoma moved to approve the invoice from EFG Widgets, Incorporated, for $11,254.15. Mr. Clark seconded. Motion carried 4-2, with Hurtoma, Clark, Michaels and Smith in favor and Rodriguez and Truman opposed.
Excellent. The last is concluding material. Most minutes typically end with the time the meeting adjourned. Minutes are signed by the presiding officer and the recording secretary, although if the secretary is a voting member of the group, then the secretary's signature alone is often sufficient.
I see. Johnson adjourned the meeting at 7:14 p.m. The next meeting is scheduled for November 22 at 3 p.m. in the Executive Board Room. Signed, Smith Johnson, Chairman, Vanessa McDonald, Recording Secretary.
You got it.
Thank you, Amir. Is there anything else would you like to add?
Yes, I can give you step-by-step instructions. I also have a template that I usually use during the shareholders or other meetings. On the bottom of the screen there is a table with the 4 columns: point of discussion, responsible party, details, action taken.
Please go on.
First, fill out each subsequent row after the initial heading of the table with the information required. Second, as I mentioned before, write in the business name, full date, start time, end time, location and the name of the person who has called the meeting at the very top of the minutes sheet. Third, enter the topic that you plan to discuss under the point of discussion column. Keep in mind that each row represents a separate topic that is brought up during the meeting. In some cases you can simply use the meeting agenda to fill out the point of discussion column before you start, but keep in mind that sometimes the meeting veers off the agenda. Fourth, include the name of the person responsible for presenting that element of the meeting agenda in the responsible party column. Fifth, write in details of what the responsible party and others discussed during that point in the meeting in the details section.
Unbelievable.
Sixth, record the final decision made at the end of the discussion in the action taken section of the meeting minutes. Even if the action is simply to discuss the issue more later, include that information in this column. And the last one is present the meeting minutes to the person who called the meeting for approval or approve them yourself for distribution at the next gathering.
Oh, Amir, you are the best. Thank you so much. Before I leave, can we meet once again and unpack how to create an agenda for a planning meeting?
Sure, Diana. I have 3 o'clock meeting. I'll stop by right after it.
Thank you again. See you then.
Bye, Diana. See you later.